I, Philip Joseph here.
I would like to be judged as being the Prime Minister, not being judged as being part of a government.
Came into government that we had a manifesto and a vision and mission that had been approved by my party, by the highest body.
Basel 11 has not been in existence. 50 was...
Giant getting bazooka. You spraying big on to knock out mosquitoes.
I have never had a joint account with anybody in my life. Not my ex-wife, not my children, nobody. And I will refer that to the privileges committee.
What about the culture of people getting into office and not being effective?
What people become Prime Minister of St. Lucia have been the most ready.
Let's do it this Wednesday, because if it's Wednesday, it's NewsMaker Live.
Good evening to you. Welcome to another edition of NewsMaker Live on DBS Television with me, Timothy Poleon. The final such broadcast for this year, and if it's the final one, it ought to be very memorable because I have a fascinating and interesting guest. Once had his show aired on this same television station, but he has been missing in action. I think it was since 2021. My guest is Rick Wayne, veteran journalist and a contributor to my lunchtime program, Newspin. Welcome to the program, Rick, NewsMaker Live.
Thank you. Been missing in action, huh?
Thanks, thank you. And people asking questions. Where is Rick? Where is Rick? Rick, why do you, after so many years, continue to speak out on those issues that are of importance to the people of this country, although they are themselves are not looking after their business, but you seem to be the one who's leading the charge on so many of the critical issues in St. Lucia, and you've been doing this consistently now for so many years.
You know, you've answered the question. Even in the question, you've answered it. Because if I don't do it, who will? Others have tried, but they tried within the mess themselves. George Odlum, who is an iconic son of St. Lucia, regardless how we may feel about him in terms of his politics or whatever. But of course we pay no attention, and that's another problem we have, and that's another job I'm taking on before I depart. And I don't think I plan to depart anytime soon, but I care about those things. We've had George Odlum, we've had Derek Walcott, we've had even Peter Josie. We've had a number of people who have, in their own way, tried to bring St. Lucia to a place where we can all feel good about it. But the politicians, who are about the most ignorant people in the country, the politicians are among the most ignorant people in the country. They're the ones least talented in the country. They're the ones, few of them with any kind of track record that a kid, you might say, I want you to be like that. We don't have any of that. The guys are all of them, I shouldn't say all, one or two are not so bad. But the majority of politicians we've had there are an embarrassment when you study them, when you've written about them like I have, and I have known them as individuals, I have known them as private citizens, I have known them as serious politicians, I have been around when they were planning their politics, so I know.
So therefore, why don't you give them some credit for something? Because they're still dominant.
I tell you what I'm giving them credit for having the people of St. Lucia at war with themselves every day. And I used to say
the people allowed it.
Pardon?
The people allowed it.
The people can't help themselves. The people are growing up into this thing as a way of life. They don't know better. I keep saying on your show, St. Lucia, like most of the other islands, but I'm always more interested in St. Lucia. St. Lucia is still a plantation. Only instead of the white faces, we have black faces, those faces that look like some of us. You know? Think about it. St. Lucians are enslaved to their party. There's no free speech in the country. Big men, I say big men in the colloquial way, men with good education, men who studied careers, engineers. These guys are afraid to talk because they're afraid what these little nincompoops in office might do to them, because those nincompoops control our lives. I asked a friend tonight, how do you feel, because he's a intellectual, he's a smart guy. How do you feel, you being who you are, going to bed at night and knowing so-and-so politician, I mentioned the name, I won't now, actually is controlling your destiny? That's what we have. So the people of St. Lucia don't know better. They have been educated that they can only get on if they are in good terms with politicians. The politicians control them. Like I said in your show, I said
we are lions being led by donkeys. Is that what it is? Because I've never seen lions.
They're lions. These are not lions. These are cockroaches. These are cockroaches leading lesser cockroaches. There's no lion in there. You know, we have allowed ourselves to become a half a loaf is better than none society. And there are people listening to me right now who say, well, of course, Rick, half a loaf is better than none. But I tell you what, 4 loaves is better than half a loaf. Because that half a loaf is supposed to take care of the poorest of the poor, the not so poorest of the poor, the person with 2 children, the minimum wage society. That's what it is, you know. This is a minimum wage society, and we brag about minimum wage because we're always into the charity, almost charity thing. The people of St. Lucia in this day and age ought to have sufficient skills, and there ought to be enough going on in the country where those skills can give them a decent wage, that they can take pride in being a man and take pride in being a woman because they earn, not begging around for minimum wage and all that kind of stuff.
Can we attribute that to, for example, the lack of various institutions, unlike the era of let's say the George Odlum and Peter Josie and so on, would be educating the masses. We lack that right now in terms of not having a genuine civil society to lead that particular campaign.
Tim, whenever I get the opportunity to say I was part of some crap, as much younger, more emotional, more radical, a lot of hair, you know, and I joined guys in a lot of stuff because of the excitement of the journalism, the photographs, the being close to the trees and whatnot. I got excited by that too, and I'm not so sure I didn't get more excited by that than in terms of what it might do to St. Lucia. I'm admitting that. Today I'm thinking of the most important thing by far is what's happening to St. Lucia. Political parties are beginning to mean nothing, you know.
So what led you to join the campaign of the St. Lucia Labour Party?
I want to talk about the education. The Marcus test became known as the People's University. Well, that's a lot of bullshit when you really think, because all you have to do now is go back on what was being said in those Marcus tests. Crap! We were talking against tourism. We were talking about striking against ourselves. It didn't matter to us that we thought it was cool that geese boats would come here and go back empty, and the pockets of the farmers were empty as well. That was the education we were getting there. You know. What was a good idea was when the forum, which most people, and here we go again, most people listening to the show right now have no idea what I'm talking about. The forum. The forum was an educational group formed not by George, some other young St. Lucians, and George joined it. It's when George joined it, it became something else. But there really was education going on, teaching people about pride in black and so on. It really was the forum. But the forum soon metamorphosed into Islam, and bang, we're into a political party, and all the guys became politicians, and we're like politicians. So there was no real education going on. What we need is to have those things on the record, because nobody's talking about them. And we need to have them on the record so that young people, the young people at Sir Arthur and so on, they know more about what's happening with Trump than they know what's happening in St. Lucia now or how we got here. And speaking of how we got here, Tim, listen to this. I made some notes deliberately for that. In the society we seek to refashion, no individual or organization, whether it is the private sector, unions, or members of parliament, should feel immune from accountability. I want to read that again, if you don't mind. In the society we seek to refashion, no individual or organization, whether it is the private sector, unions, or members of parliament, should feel immune from accountability. Who do you think said that?
Kenny Anthony?
When?
That would have been before the 97 election?
Well, you see, that is what we brought in. Kenny was loved by everybody. Somebody asked me a while ago, just before we started, who I think is the best prime minister. I don't know if it's the best or worst. I don't know. But I know the guy who frittered away the greatest opportunity was Kenny Anthony. Kenny Anthony was loved by everybody. It's only a little error that didn't get all 17 seats, and those people loved him. They loved him, Kenny.
And you believe he does not have anything to show for that kind of magnanimity that was shown to him by the people of St. Lucia? What does he have to show for that?
Kenny and I don't talk right now, sadly, because I think we have a lot to say to each other. A lot.
Is he not talking to you, or you're not speaking to him?
Tim, I talk to everybody. There's only one guy I won't talk to. Guy I think it's beneath me to talk to him. A politician. Beneath me.
Who's that individual?
Oh, I'm not going to call that. I think it's pretty obvious. But I'm not going to talk about it. That's not important. And that's personal anyway. But Kenny Anthony has to come back and shine. And I'm not talking about come back as prime minister like that. Kenny Anthony has fallen off the cliff. Kenny Anthony's legacy sucks right now when it need not be. Kenny Anthony said that in his first budget. I want to read it again. In the society we seek to refashion, consider those words. In the society we seek to refashion, no individual or organization, whether it is the private sector, unions, or members of parliament, see the vision? Should feel immune from accountability. Members of parliament are above the law. They demonstrate that every day by the way they carry on in the House. You saw that thing from the Bahamas.
Bahamas, yeah.
Well, we did that before the Bahamas. But but here was a guy, seemingly a guy with a lot of vision, seemingly a guy who recognized the mess we were in, because we were talking about, that was a hell of a campaign, by the way. That was the campaign that delivered Philip here. And it was a hell of a campaign. And where are we now in terms of everything you see promised there? Where are we now in terms of everything? By the second year of Kenny's term, he had begun to go reverse.
People are saying that you have a problem with Dr. Kenny Anthony primarily because he fired you from the Senate.
Well, that's what small minds would do. Small minds would do that. They would never think that anything else. Bigger minds would say, Rick Wayne has always stood for free speech. Rick Wayne has always felt that you can criticize your party and still love your party. Tell them, look, man, I don't like this. This is crap. This is a terrible policy. And still vote for them, because it's like at your home. You tell off your wife. That doesn't mean you divorce her right away, or etc. And I'm not afraid to disagree with friends. Plus, the campaign was based on the freedom to criticize our party. That was part of the refashioning. And what did I do? I did not want to go in with a cocoa involving public funds. A guarantee was being, a loan guarantee that was being offered some people, and I thought everything about it was wrong and illegal, and it turned out to be true in the end.
Let me take you back.
So I hold no gripe about that. I have a gripe about Kenny, things that don't concern me, like the things he has tolerated, the vomit he has allowed himself to. Like, I don't believe the real reason Kenny Anthony is not in the House as he should be.
In the cabinet.
In the cabinet has anything to do with what he's saying or what people think. I don't believe that. But go ahead, your question.
Let me take you back to 14 years ago, an exchange you had on your program with a caller, and that's a caller to talk.
Talk to me. Hello?
Yeah, good night.
Talk to me.
And good night to your guest.
Good night, sir.
Yeah, welcome back.
Yes, thanks.
Rick, I realized from the time Dr. Kenny Anthony fired you, you have something personal against him. I would like you to respond. I will hang up and I would like you to respond.
Hold on, don't go, man. I love that kind of question. First of all, I have heard that a million times, okay?
Yes.
Don't go.
No.
But let us say that's true.
Mm-hmm.
That's a very good reason not to like him.
Yeah. Let me tell you.
No, take it easy. Wait there. Let us say I'm pissed off having campaigned for 12 years or more for freedom of expression and whatnot, that Kenny Anthony then fired 3 senators because they asked questions about a particular bill. At the end of the day, he couldn't give the money anyway, the guarantee, because everything we said was correct. So let us say he then fired all 3 of us for bad reason, and let's say I'm pissed off about it. That's the most natural thing in the world.
Okay, well,
but that's not true anyway.
The reason why I say that is.
But hold it.
No, but you said let me put.
Before you do that, let me just say this to you.
Yeah.
I answered your question that way to tell you that if I was pissed off with him for that, I have every right to be. But that's not the reason I'm pissed off with him.
Okay.
Okay. But let me tell you what the reason is, so that you know. I wanted to, caller. I want to also say to you, So
let me give you a pistol. You only want to hit me.
All right. Okay. Let you hit me.
Okay. What I'm trying to say, Eric, you didn't have to go there. You are money for establishment. You have your wealth, your thing.
Didn't have to go where?
I didn't go into politics and thing. And
I'm not in politics, caller.
No, at the time you didn't.
No, I wasn't. Caller, let me say this to you.
Yeah.
Julian Hunt, you'll be able to read a little more about that very soon. Julian Hunt, before Kenny Anthony arrived at the scene, after he'd had problems with Lawson Calderon and Josie and Mario left and so on, pleaded with me to please take a seat at the Senate for the Labour Party side. I said, look, man, I'm not joining your party. He said, look, I don't care if you're not a member of the party, because I was never a member of the party. Your views coincide with our views anyway. And that's how I became a senator. And let me say this to you for your information. Philip Pierre, Marius Wilson were there at the same time as I was. And they will tell you how many times I criticized policy, whether it was Labour or UWP. That's what I was free to do, because I thought that was a good thing for the Labour Party to be able to say even its own senators can criticize them.
Yeah, but that goes down into history right now, and like you're fired, a businessman like you, with all your assets and everything, and you end up fired by the Prime Minister.
And what?
It's not looking too well.
I didn't get that.
I say for a man like you, a caliber man like you, with your business and stuff, to see that you're fired by a Prime Minister, that goes down to the...
Caller, you speak for yourself, okay? Yeah. Speak for yourself. Don't make that to me. It's because I'm big that I know I was not fired by a Prime Minister. I always knew, just like happened the other day, the Prime Minister has the prerogative, you know that when you're coming in, that at any time he can say thank you, you've done enough for me. He can rotate you.
Yeah.
King just did it. Hold it. King just, but I just told you a while ago that the Senate thing had nothing to do with it. Okay, caller. But anyway, I appreciate talk to me.
Okay.
Hello? Okay, that's gone. I was about to tell him what pisses me off with Kenny Anthony, but he's gone.
The kid knows better.
It's terrible. Okay, talk to me.
Yes, Rick. Good night.
Hi.
Good night. I'm
Mr. Roberts.
Mr. Roberts.
Good night, sir.
Rick.
Yeah.
A gentleman asked you a question a while ago. Why you have that grudge against the Prime Minister, the late ex-Prime Minister, and you're about to give this the
real reason. I was just saying that. Caller, one of my pet peeves with Kenny Anthony is I find he's a bit schizophrenic. Mm-hmm. You are never sure what he's going to do next, despite what he said. But in any event, the notion that I am so pissed off with him because he fired from the Senate is myopic, because it's not a matter of firing from the Senate that would be the issue. It's why.
This is personal affairs between you and him.
Pardon me?
This is personal affairs between you and him.
Personal affairs? No. I'm saying to you. No, I'm saying to you, if you're fired because you expressed yourself in a certain way at the Senate, and you were right in the first place, something is very wrong with your attitude to freedom of speech.
It's true. Right.
Exactly. Because the issue in question, and I keep saying that's not the reason. I decided, I have been ambivalent. Quite honestly, even as I speak, and I'm not a guy who's lost for words, I have problem telling you I have something against Kenny Anthony. I am ambivalent. You know, the last election, a week after the last election, and I've said it many times, I said on this show that the politics must change or we die. Yes. I said, ironically, the one guy I think who has the qualities to bring about that change is also the guy we just kicked out of office, correctly so. And I said I hoped while in opposition he would learn a few lessons and would come back a new man.
Yeah, I could recall it.
Well, caller, if you have to check out since Dr. Anthony went into opposition, the number of inexplicable boo-boos he has made, beginning with the, not beginning, but among them the fingerprint stuff, you know, and so on and so. I don't have to go into this. You know, you're still at a loss because you can't even explain some of those crazy things that, you know, that he has done. You can't even explain it.
So without, excuse me, what you're saying, you have to explain all these things to the nation.
That's right.
Okay, good. I agree with you.
That's right. And you know, I was saying to Matthew during the break, that one of the problems in this country is that we no longer have people unafraid to speak their minds, even if they're wrong. Speak their minds. We instead keep quiet. And I'm suspecting one of the reasons is those who are here have died or are fast dying out or don't care anymore. And the real St. Lucians who could do something for this country left a long time ago because they couldn't make a living here.
Okay.
And it would be great if some of them would come back here, you know, to try to bring this country back on balance, because the people we have right now, boy, who?
All right. Thank you for your...
Thank you, caller. Thank you.
Has changed between talk of 2010 and now 2024.
Let me say first of all, I want to almost slap you on the back because I'm a research guy, and how you got that is such an important thing. But I was listening to this, and it was as if the same conversation we were just having here.
Yeah.
Because everything I said there, I said to you. How many years ago was that?
14 years.
14 years. And everything I said to you before you put the clip on was echoed by there 14 years ago. You see my point? This is precise. And the things I say about Kenny there, that I'm ambivalent about him, I remain ambivalent about him. You just heard me say it's a pity we don't talk. We have a lot to say to each other. And Kenny is big enough to do, I think it's more the politics that prevents him from acknowledging he and I have a lot to say to the nation, that he and I can still do what in the few, whatever time we have left, we can do a lot to try to get the country back on. Because Kenny, the country never saw the best of Kenny. They never saw the best. Kenny became a politician. Kenny became too much a politician when he became a politician. You got that? So the humanness of... I've written so much about Kenny, especially in my last book, Lapses and Infelicities, where I interviewed Kenny, and how he talked to me from age 6 right up to, you know, getting out of office, and I got to know him even better. How he feels about law. Does he really like law? The circumstances where he's comfortable. He doesn't really like the Castries environment. He likes the Saltibis environment. He's loose there. He feels comfortable there. How he used to admire George and Josie. He used to come specially to Castries just to hear those guys talking. That's the Kenny I know, the private Kenny. That's the Kenny who feels, not the Kenny who comes and talks clever stuff. You know, even now, you will watch Kenny in Parliament, and he will give you all, and you will be blown away thinking he has delivered a great speech. Then you go now and analyze the speech critically, and you will see he's just being very, very clever. He's just being very clever, and that's not Kenny. And Kenny owes St. Lucia. That has come to me now. Kenny owes St. Lucia for giving him that 16-1 in those days, and he never delivered. And I think he still can deliver, even not from the Prime Minister's chair.
What do you think, therefore, that Prime Minister Philip J. Pierre owes the St. Lucia with that kind of mandate? 15-2.
Let me say this about Philip Pierre. Even I sometimes forget that one of the most knowledgeable guys about St. Lucia is Philip J. Pierre. I used to say the only other guy who perhaps knows the soul of St. Lucia more than I do was Compton. I used to say that. Well, Philip Pierre comes very, very close to that. In other words, Philip Pierre has been at the wheel for a very, very, very long time. And I expect much more of him than so far. But Philip Pierre is encumbered by the same diseases that afflicted Kenny Anthony. Philip Pierre cannot be Philip Pierre in that government. Wouldn't you like to be a fly on the ointment, a fly on the wall at a Philip Pierre cabinet with a former Prime Minister, Stephenson King, who is as responsible, who Janice Compton spoke about in the worst terms, at the time of Compton. Janice Compton would not permit Stephenson King to eulogize her husband. Other prime ministers did. She allowed them, but she would not allow him near the coffin. She called him a traitor. Now he is in the Labour Party cabinet and talking about they, meaning the UWP, and the they time he's talking about was his time as Prime Minister and otherwise. That is taking the country for a joke. The country cannot move with that kind of stuff. But I wonder, knowing Philip as well as I do, what is going on in his head when he's listening in cabinet to Stephenson King pretending he had no part of it. When he was Prime Minister or Deputy Prime Minister and Minister for Infrastructure and all that stuff, they did. And the people of St. Lucia is looking like moose. They don't understand they've been taken for a ride.
Why do you think that the people are so tolerant?
The people have been taught to hate themselves. So red people hate yellow people. And they don't realize when yellow and red hate one another, nothing will happen. Because nothing comes out of hate. Red hates yellow and yellow hates red.
But why do you think the politicians get that gumption? Where they get the gall?
Because
to be so bold as to take the people for right.
But somebody said to me, an engineer, and I want to say this, I'm very proud of the fact that people on both sides of the fence call me at home. One or two drop by, and it has been that way. And I respect the confidence, the confidentiality. I will never mention their names. Their names are not important. It's more the message. A particular engineer said to me that when you hear a prime minister or a minister calls or he's forming a committee, and you're on that committee, and so on, as a project and what, you better find out all the details of that project, and to make certain you know what the government wants. Because the government is not calling you to sit on any committee for ideas. They want you to come and rubber stamp the garbage they're doing, which explains a lot of projects. It explains St. Jude how long?
14 years.
14 years, $400 million up in smoke. Nobody's talking about that. All they do is Alan this, Alan that, Pip did that, Alan that, King did this, Kenny that. And the people are all in that, and they're not asking themselves, when are we going to stop this stupid MAPE and wonder where the $400 million went? How that $400 million disappeared? Because they all were involved. So that's what the politicians have done to the people. They've turned the people into idiots.
But why are you blaming the politicians and not the people?
Oh, I'm blaming all of them, but at least the politicians are the ones with the half a loaf. The politicians are the ones that make them jump. And they say how high. Even The big boys.
Because I don't think that people will be so easily deceived or even be distracted in some other countries. Even in the Caribbean, your Barbados and your Trinidad and maybe your Guyana and Jamaica and so on. So it says something maybe.
Because of Barbados has, it seems to me, a higher level of education and appreciation, and consequently, appreciation of democracy and so on. Somebody said, you have to be educated to appreciate democracy. You have to be educated. If you keep people uneducated, or at least uneducated in matters like that, you control them. You control them. So the politicians control the one or two half-assed jobs, the minimum wage jobs that are going on. They control that. The politicians are the ones who give out the contracts to guys, give out direct award contracts for guys who are fishermen who suddenly become engineers. That's what go. I mean, it's a sick joke. I was asking Nicole earlier on. Do you think what is it that politicians do for this little island, St. Lucia in particular, that's one I'm always interested in, that could not have been done without them? What is it these guys do? What have they brought to the table? Most of those guys don't have a trade. Most of those guys don't have a track record. And a lot of them, what we know of them is terrible stuff. Reputationally. Terrible stuff. And I'm not asking for priests. I'm not asking for nuns. I'm just asking, stop being so goddamn arrogant because you fool some people with half a loaf from poor people and they get you in office. The teacher, the master, that's how we talk, you know. I read Facebook just for that. You know, or how people react to the politicians, whether it's Alan Chasney or whether it is Richard Frederick or whether it is whoever. You know, that is how people.
But hasn't it been that way for a very long time? Even the days of John Compton, people are saying Daddy Compton and Daddy Hunt.
In the days of John Compton, and I want to say that it isn't so much that the guys were saints or good guys, you know, but they had the respect for the people to do their stuff maybe behind curtains. Now it's blatant. I mean, I keep saying it, and pardon my French. In this country today, people have shows where you talk about Kukun Mamau. When I was a kid, Kukun Mamau got you in court. Obscenity. But we accepted it like nothing. Like nothing. I coming for you. I coming for you. You know. That's the kind of stuff we have here. People on television, officials, threatening the citizenry. People are afraid to say a street is bad or a street needs repair because they're afraid what the government minister might say about them. Sometimes the government minister comes out and says, I have secret documents on you. I will expose you. And we take it. And the brains of the country and the priests and the archbishops, all fakes. We have to call them out, Tim. The heads of churches. John Compton was, I should know. I wrote some pretty embarrassing things about John Compton, but John Compton always had at least to project a certain aura of prime minister, and he was a grassroots guy. John Compton's peccadillos kind of are almost laughable when we sit down, just a group of us talking. You know what John Compton did that, man? You know, not today. The thing is blatant. The thing is nasty. The thing is scummy. That's what we're wallowing in now. That's the norm. John Compton did some things a la Clinton. I don't have to go into that again. They all do stuff. We all do stuff. But at least there are certain things that we are embarrassed about. We would like to make amends for it. We don't go and blow it in people's face and make it the norm. All that stuff going on there with the Archbishop and the government now what's that about? Why don't we all know? Why can't we hear where the church stands on this? Why can't we hear? There is not an institution in the country that is functioning at this time halfway the way it was intended
function.
And the reason for this is what?
No standards. The people don't expect standards. They know it's not coming.
It's not the case where the people have cowered. The people are afraid of.
But what you said that earlier. The politicians have frightened even the biggest boys with a couple dollars in the bank. They are afraid of any little guy. They're afraid. Your police force. I mean, what institution is working here? What? The police force are supposed to protect us. You're on your radio every day. You know there's nobody in this country who believes the police force can offer them protection. And what is worse is when you hear government ministers not taking responsibility for the effectiveness of this police force. How can you have, and I don't want to be personal, it's nothing personal, I know Vern God very well. But if you bring in Vern God in, bring him in because he's good, you know he's going to be good for the police force, and make him appoint him. How can you have him in a very controversial situation like the police force is, and you have him acting? The natural thing is he's going to try to earn the appointment.
Yeah.
Oh, that is the optics.
But maybe those who appointed him have a bigger plan that we're not privy to.
Of course they have a bigger plan. I mean, every day I call your show and tell you that Kenny Anthony read to the world a result of an investigation by the Jamaica Constabulary that says the facilitators of crime in St. Lucia, the violent crime, the shooting, are government ministers, politicians, police officers, crooked police, and business people. Why is it nobody of any caliber will call your show and say, Rick is right on that. We cannot seriously deal with crime until we settle the fact that the lawmakers are not the main lawbreakers in the country. How do we know
But don't you think they must find out first if you can give credence to what is in that report?
Well, either you call Kenny a damn liar, because Kenny is a lawyer, he's a constitutional lawyer, he was Prime Minister of the day, he went on television and on the internet and told the whole world something as horrifying as anywhere in the world. A Prime Minister would go on TV and on the internet and say that a report says the facilitators of crime are in the government, and there would be no inquiry, there'd be no people calling for people's heads. What would they say? That Kenny is just talking? The Prime Minister of the country? If you can't take Kenny's word on that, then why should you take his word on anything? And if you can't take Kenny Anthony's word on that, why should you take the word of Philip Pierre or Anand Shasna or any one of them in office? That's where we are.
In what important way do you think that St. Lucia has changed since your boyhood days?
That's a great question. It's a question I hoped to you might put to me, and then you asked it now. There was a time. Look, I left St. Lucia as a little boy, but my memories are from Labrie. With my little fisherman friends, Mano and Helen. We made our own gym. I call those names because people at Labrie will know those particular people, the Joyeux and whatnot. Labrie was always a village on its own, you know. And Labrie is still the outstanding...
So according to Alpha, the Republic of Labrie.
Well, I hate all this foolishness. That's comical. But Labrie is special. And I don't know what it is. But it's special, and that's why I grew up and formed my thing, and that's where I learned about the Kudme society that we had. I saw a guy, a fisherman. I didn't see it, but he had his arm chopped off in a stupid cutlass fight, drunk. Hammock. What do you call him in Creole? Creole, good. It's a hammock. Mm-hmm. You know what a hammock? Yeah. Okay, they had the guy in the hammock, and a bunch of guys walking to Vieux-Fort, to the hospital in Vieux-Fort, and they would go a mile or two, and waiting for them will be another 20 guys all the way to Vieux-Fort. And we didn't have phones, it's just word of mouth. People are on the ready to help. Any Kudme here right now is paid for. Yeah. The marches you see of protest, they are paid for. And what a joke. I mean, the people are supposed to be protesting for good governance, whatever party. But the same government that is a problem is feeding them liquor, buying them chicken, getting buses. I mean, it's such a sick joke. And the people who know better say nothing about it. That's the church says nothing. The church believes it can only talk about the Bible. People don't believe in those things anymore. We want to hear from God's mouth, the representatives, what they think of this Babylon that they've allowed to grow around them. So St. Lucia has changed. It has become hateful. St. Lucia has become pulling people down. Like some time ago when I said, deliberately, I've been in this business long enough to know how to stir attention, and I wrote on Facebook that it was, well, every time I called you, you're witness to that, before Alfred won the medal, I was praising her to you. Yeah. Her physique, that this is a born champion. Remember?
Yes.
Before any gold medal. Okay. And I was bemoaning the fact that all this nonsense that she's running for St. Lucia is a burden on her. And I said, look what they did to LeBron Spencer. These people are afraid if they lose, that they let down a whole country. You can't have those burdens when you are an athlete. All you have to be thinking of is winning. You have psychologists, you have trainers, and they want you focused not on how the politicians are going to look and how you're going to look what it did to LeBron Spencer. So we are where we are now because out of hate comes more hate. We have become a hateful country, and I don't think it's a matter irreversible. It is reversible, but men have to come out. We have to hear some real talk on your show. We have to have from the pulpits real talk, not just the Bible or your version of Catholicism and so on. Religion and politics are the same goddamn thing. Religion and politics are the same. They divide people. They make people kill people. And not on anything tangible, on beliefs, on voodoo. So that is the difference. There's no love in the country. There's no love. There's a lot of lust, but there's no love.
You think it's because of the lust for power, and politicians see getting into office as an avenue whereby they can enrich themselves, make themselves prominent, and make themselves
I used to, just like you showed that a while ago, as I said, it's 14 years ago, I'm consistent, Tim. What was the question again?
Love for power. Is that what motivating politicians?
People come into, I always said, when people come into politics, immediately you have to put them under the microscope. Because there is no good reason why anybody wants to go into politics. They cost you, they cost mama, or you get degraded. Alan Chasney, I teach him a lot. And especially when I see his pictures with all the usual thing, the Kenny dance, and now there's the Trump dance, and there's the Chasney dance, and they're hugging up other people. Especially when these guys are being, like Philip Pierre, his daughter, Alan, when I hear people, the nastiness these people say about those people on Facebook or whatever. And these are people in ordinary life. Kenny would never even meet them. Philip Pierre would never meet them. Alan Chasney would never meet them. But the politics brings them all in the nasty crab hole, and everybody is a crab. No respect for anybody. No respect for anybody. Nobody, and anybody I was telling you about Alfred a while ago. So I wrote there deliberately, St. Lucia should not be talking about, we won the gold. You did not win the gold, St. Lucia. Alfred won the gold out of a lot of sacrifice, and we should be grateful she's making such a big thing of coming from St. Lucia. She's proud of St. Lucia. Let's celebrate that. Let's celebrate Alfred winning the gold for us. But the language, I didn't like it. That's my view. That's my view. Don't say we won the gold. You won no gold. Alfred won the gold for us, for which we are grateful. She put us on the map. That is wonderful. But look what happened. She came over here, and this woman, young woman, was so classy. But the politicians couldn't help it. They had to say, without so-and-so party, there would be no Alfred. She's a product of so-and-so party, and all this kind of nonsense. And she rose above it. She never once, I didn't hear her once say something that could be called political. Not once. Do you?
No, I haven't.
That's a class young woman in every respect. A phenomenal athlete. But I don't think St. Lucia, Derek Walker said that, you know. Derek Walker at a press conference, and I'm sure the journalists who maybe watching the show will remember, when he was told another hotel was going to be built, and he said, I'm going to die like my brother Robbie died, and I will not see the start of a home for the arts. And he says, there are times when I really believe St. Lucia does not deserve his artists. Yeah? A country that does not respect art is a Philistine country, you know. That's savage. Art is important. And a country that does not have art and does not really support art is a country, it's not a country, it's just bush. It's just bush. But we have poets, we have some good talent here. They know that, but they're too into politics, so they won't say that. They won't say it. Derek has said it in many ways. And a country that has no love for is a bunch of Philistines, and they will act that way.
So how does it look for the future as far as St. Lucia is concerned?
Is there a future? The future of St. Lucia resides in the young people at Sir Arthur and so on. These are good people. They're good. There's a lot of good stuff going on there. I went there a couple of times to him, and I really was amazed. And even this evening, somebody was telling me that he was there and how the potential is there. But I went there and I to do something on writing or whatever, and I took questions, and I was so amazed by the quality and depth of the questions that at one point I actually stopped it, and I said this, and I said the potential you have, and then it occurred to me that the potential of the best of our young people is in the hands of a bunch of idiots. A bunch of guys who can barely put a sentence together. The future of these people who are 10 times at their age of 15, 16, 10 times smarter than most of the politicians, their future is in the hands of these idiots. So that is the future of St. Lucia. Somehow we have to rescue St. Lucia from politicians. I didn't say politics, from politicians.
So how do we ensure that we do some winnowing whereby we get some better individuals to serve at the helm, to serve in cabinet? And talking about, for example, the selection process, selecting an individual to become a candidate for a particular constituency so that they win, and if their party wins, then they form a part of the cabinet. And they can also become prime minister. The selection process.
The same guy who wrote The Art of War, Sun Tzu, he said, the first method of measuring the intelligence of a leader is to look at the men surrounding him. The first method, and another guy, Thomas Paine again, who, president, right? A body of men holding themselves accountable to nobody ought not to be trusted by nobody. Everything you may ask me is dependent on the politicians. Everything. Alan Shastney has said a lot of things, and I've said to him, you have to learn not to sing opera to a hip-hop crowd. You're looking for trouble. So I talk to him a lot about things like that.
You talk to the Prime Minister a lot as well? Well, don't create some balance.
Do I talk to the Prime Minister like that? The Prime Minister and I go back a long, long time. And when I do get the occasion to talk to him, Philippe and I just laugh, because Philippe is a politician. And he, like I told you, he knows as much as I do about the conditions, about the politicians themselves, who to trust or whatever. He knows. That's why I'm out telling you a show. He may talk a bit goofy on sometimes or whatever, but he's not a fool.
Okay, so therefore, let me try to digest what you're saying, understand what you're saying. Are you telling me that it's all a show, that politicians, being politicians, they're not innately and naturally and honestly interested in the welfare and the development of the people and the extension of the country?
I'm saying that, and I'm also saying to you, I don't see a future in it, because the system we're working under obviously is counterproductive. You have a bunch of permanent secretaries. They are the ones who sign all the checks. You know, when you hear all the thing about corruption, they are the one facilitating it, not the ministers, you know. And the Treasury, you wonder why does the Treasury pay checks that without checking them out, etc., etc. You want to have everything. The minister this, the minister that. But what about the permanent secretary? Why is it when we change governments, we don't change permanent secretaries? If our government has failed to deliver...
Some people have suggested that. You think that should be the case?
But let's be logical. If a government has failed the people miserably, and the people who are in fact advising the government and doing implementing other, and you keep them. So no matter who goes there, you keep them. And you also have the matter of guys with their politics as well, sabotaging the Labour Party or sabotaging. You have all of those things are real, Tim. In my view, the system is wrong. I think all those people should be on contract. I also think you don't perform, you get fired like any other job. The public service is old-fashioned. It has to be a job you show slate what you do. I watched the news here recently, and people were all complaining about the service they get by public service, right? Yes. Only this week. But we keep on having those same people, and the politicians are afraid of them because of their union, because the politicians care only about themselves, getting re-elected, and don't want to get in trouble with the CSA. So the people take it in the neck is a thing I used to say and talk all the time. No matter who is the idiot in office, the people red and yellow take it in the neck.
Earlier, I brought up the point about being genuinely interested in the welfare of the people in terms of their growth and the development and the country by extension. And somebody naturally comes to mind. All politics aside, is somebody who really, I believe, he cared, he was into public service, and that would be deceased Romanus Lancico.
Romanus Lancico, so was Alan Busque, and believe it or not, Compton.
Yeah. Compton,
you know, I remember in the studio, when I asked Compton, did he have any regrets, you know, all these years, and he said he had two regrets. One, that he never should have brought in Vaughan Wilson into politics, and the other was that he didn't do for the young people of the country what needed to be done. And I said, well, why didn't you? And he said, every leader is aspirational. He stands outside, and he has all kinds of great ideas what he wants to do there, and then he gets into office, and the priorities hit him. So now he has to get jobs for parents. He's got to get education for people so they can qualify for certain jobs. So all the plans and all the good things that has to be put aside. And we have, with no money, you have to beg. You have to get the money for things, etc. So it's very difficult, but it can be done if somehow we can get both sides of the fence to be antagonistic, but friendly antagonism. But they hate each other. They hate each other.
I tell you why. It's because it's personal, and it's because it pertains to the individuals at the center of that political fight. Okay? And it has nothing to do with the people. Because if both of us have an interest, and the interest is to develop the people, to improve their lot in life, matters relating to crime, healthcare, the education, the high cost of living, that's a common goal that we have, a common purpose. So we can unite, we can try as much as possible to be reasonable towards each other. But I think what is happening right now in terms of the dog fight that's taking place between the two sides is because it's all about them and what they can gain, what they can garner.
You know, we took a turn, Tim. We took a term in 1979 when that in the boulevard business blew up. And then that business in the house with a mace. And from that point on, the worst elements in St. Lucia were empowered. And then you had the whole matter of the ORC time and all those people who died. We didn't learn any lessons from them. And we are still on that treadmill. And nobody is seeking to go there because fingers will be pointed at the wrong people. That's the trouble. The lawmakers are the lawbreakers, according to the report. So where are we going? When the perception, at the very least, the perception is that the lawmakers are the main lawbreakers. That is what Kenny Anthony's report said. And that's what he read to the whole world. And that is what we have not proved to be wrong or correct.
Let's put the telephone number on screen so that you can call right now with your questions and the comments for my guest. Of course, he needs no reintroduction. He is Rick Wayne, veteran journalist. Are you thinking about contemplating getting back to the airwaves of DBS television and reintroduce talk to the people of St. Lucia?
I am about one of the oldest guys in St. Lucia. Okay? Most people...
With one of the fittest brains.
Damn right. Yeah, one of the smart... Well, I'm not going to say one of the smartest, and it's not because I'm so smart, it's because they're so dumb. It's not because I'm so smart, it's because my competition is so dumb and stupid. And you know, these are things that the average person can't say. How can Rick Wayne say those things? A certain politician said to me, only you can say that. I said, that's because you don't have the backup to say it. Because when I say it, I'll back it up. You can call me any name you want, you know, and we can discuss it.
We have a call on line. Good evening. NewsMaker Live, you're on the air.
Hey, good evening, team. Good evening, Rick.
Hi. Good evening to you, caller.
Rick, you say you're one of the oldest bands in which you look fabulous, man. You look fabulous. You have to make the call, Rick.
Thank you.
Rick, let me say this to you, Rick.
Turn that thing down.
The feedback. You have to turn down the whatever device you're using. Turn down the volume, sir.
Yeah, Rick.
Feedback.
Sorry about it.
Yes, go ahead. And let's make it brief because we want to take as many calls as possible.
I'll make it brief. I called because Rick had said a lot and you have said a lot. I'm going to focus on Dr. Anthony. Dr. Anthony has a chance to make good for the people of this country. In 1996, when we embraced Dr. Anthony, we said that was a savior. Because he was young, we brought him in 79. He went out, he came back, and we said that was what we were looking for. With all the criticism we gave to Sir John, we thought that was a new thing coming in. But he has turned out for me to be a failure. And now he has a chance not be in the cabinet. But I think what he says, people listen still.
Yes.
And to give guidance to this country. With all the saga taking place in this country, whether CIP, whether with the law, that should give him an opportunity now to look from outside and say, guys, we are going wrong. And fear nothing.
And you know, caller, and it's interesting because on the matter of the CIP, he said in Parliament not so long ago that he never really wanted to go into the CIP. He had reservations, but he allowed people to talk him into it. So we would like to hear from him now.
No, but yes, he allowed people to talk him into it. But now with all what's going on, he should use his wisdom. Because he's listened the world over and said, guys, this is wrong. Put people first this time, Dr. Anthony. You're 70-something. Our time is limited. Do something for St. Lucia. Because I think you have failed us. You failed you. You are getting a salary currently for not doing much. I walked through you for Monday, Rick, and we have now established this thing along the traffic light where people go and booze and traffic, and there's not running water, there's not a proper toilet.
We are a nation of alcoholics, don't forget that.
No, I understand that, but I'm saying, I'm begging Dr. Anthony, everybody know to do what is right now. If he's not going to run again, he has, 18 months to do it and speak out. And then he can change this country while he was Prime Minister, he didn't do it, but where he is now, I am saying this, I am emotional. Where he is now,
thank you very much,
he can change this country. Kima will not take too much time.
But that's the 11th hour in terms of Dr. Kenny Anthony and his stewardship.
I don't even care about Kenny Anthony getting back into politics, you know. I'm saying that Kenny Anthony owes this country a lot of answers, and he has a lot more to give.
We have another call. Good evening, NewsMaker Live, you're on the air.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening to you, caller.
Yes. Thank you very much for the line. Obviously, a very, very good program.
That's Sir Calix George. Go ahead, caller.
Oh, Calix.
Hello, my friends.
Yep. That's a man I have a lot of talks with.
I'm very pleased, actually, in some of the analysis, and I just want to put a piece on the analysis. I'm very glad that you mentioned the forum, because a lot of the good things that St. Lucia is enjoying now stems from forum principles and policies that were enunciated by the forum. I want to go into the detail now. And one of the products of the forum actually happens to be Kenny Anthony.
Yeah.
And of course, Kenny Anthony, and in fact, I was responsible also for bringing him back into Lucia, because he was one of the brightest and potentially best people to be political field. So I have absolutely no doubt in my mind that Kenny is in fact perhaps one of the best people.
Why do you think he's just deserted?
No, I'm not saying that deserted.
He's hardly seen.
No. I'm coming to the fact that he, in fact, had the greatest mandate.
Yeah.
To do a lot of things for change.
Yes.
But along the line, I think that he was not brave enough. I think he lacked a certain amount of bravery.
But at this point, Calix, surely he's growing enough to know what he can do. He's a smart guy.
No, he's a smart guy, but there are a lot of things, Rick, as you know, in politics, the thing. I don't think he was brave enough, and I'll show you a few places where he was not brave enough to do some of the things that we thought that he would have done to bring the country further. That doesn't mean that he didn't do a lot, you know. I mean, he did a hell of a lot. But he was not brave enough to go through a certain thing. For example, so that the delivery that we expected, we were disappointed in terms of that, given the mandate that he was given. Okay?
Yeah.
Now, you said there are certain things too, that some of the things that he did, or certain things that he did for certain people, was he was very kind. He was a very soft-hearted and kind individual. And people took advantage of that on him. And there were several cases where people took advantage. The first one was the one when he fired you, of course, in the Helen Air one. He was very, very kind and so on. Again, trying to help out.
He was too kind to Helen Air?
Yeah, he was. Okay. He was also, the funny thing about it is that he's been, all the things that I think to is that he was very kind in those areas. The hotel business, again, that was another area where I felt that he was influenced by certain people, but he never told me exactly who was influenced.
But the interesting point is that why, amidst all that...
Let me finish, then we'll...
Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
Then there's the one, of course, of the impacts thing, where again he was soft. And
impacts, impacts
to bend him, which I think that he should never have ever could. I've spoken about that.
You've been consistent on that
on the same program.
Yeah.
And then of course the current one, which is the CIP, which is getting blows, the party is getting blows for. And of course, as you put it, he allowed people to talk him into it.
That's right. He said so himself.
So my point is that he has been able, the people have taken advantage of him, and he's so kind and so he allowed.
But you keep saying kind, but I like to say gullible. I like to say
weak.
Yeah, I like to say
absolutely nothing. Doesn't like the CIP at all.
Yeah, but Calix said 1 minute. You know, what you and I are kind enough to say kind, I think we know. If anybody else would call it weak.
They'll call it what? Weak.
Weak.
No, well, I said he wasn't brave, but he was kind. Well, I'm using kind. I'm not saying weak.
I know you aren't.
Yeah.
Well, anyway,
so these are the major points that I want to make.
Thank you.
In terms of to explain to him, to explain to the people some of the things that where he lacked things. But I must say that I do not wish that he should leave. There's this pressure of getting out from Viewfort. Kenny should never go out from this parliament. He has a lot to offer.
So you're saying, Sir Calix George, he should contest? You're suggesting
when the bill's on, and he goes and he explains and gives the history of all these things, and actually giving guidance to the current legislation.
So therefore he should be in the cabinet then? Why shouldn't he be in the cabinet?
No. I'm not saying about cabinet. The cabinet thing is a different thing. That's the thing. So these are the major points that I bring.
Okay.
So
Thank you very much, sir.
All right. Thanks a lot. Let's continue to take your calls once again for my guest, Rick Wayne. This is NewsMaker Live on DBS Television. We have another call. Good evening to you. You're on the air.
Hey, Timothy, how are you doing?
I'm okay, caller. Good evening to you.
Yes, I'm calling for simple reasons. Rick.
Hi.
It's good to see you, young man.
Thank you very much.
You're more than welcome. Enjoy the evening, gentlemen.
Thank you. Oh, that was nice.
Thank you so much.
Isn't it? A generation which ignores history has no past and no future. If you want to understand today, you have to search yesterday. That was written by a guy called Robert Heinlein.
We have a call. Good evening, NewsMaker Live, you're on the air.
Good evening, Tim.
Hi, good evening to you, caller.
Good evening, Rick.
Hi.
Tim, I was about falling asleep, but than the last caller before me hanged up. Tim, I want to ask Rick a question. What is his take on Ernest Hiller's behavior in government? Because as far as I know, Rick has been an advocate for standards and for vehemently critical of politicians who are arrogant. And we all know that Ernest Hiller is displaying the highest level of arrogance in government. So I want Rick's take on Ernest Hiller's behavior in government. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
It's not as carte blanche as that. There are times when I think he's okay. There are times when I think he's taking liberties. But it takes more time than I have right now.
Good evening, NewsMaker Live, you're on the air. Hello, good evening to you, caller.
Hello.
Good evening. Good evening.
Yes. I would just like to say I find Mr. Rick Wayne is very. I've been thinking about the idea of human development and political ideas for a very long time. And to hear Mr. Rick Wayne speak, what came to mind is Socrates when he spoke about the demagoguery and the story that he gave that when you have persons that are attracted to the sweet shop owner instead of being attracted to the person that would be able to give you the proper solution, which is a bitter potion, you have what Socrates called a demagoguery. And that's what I'm seeing as Mr.
That's some heavy company you put him in there, caller. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you. Yeah,
thank you.
Yeah. And as you speak, that came to mind. And what I'm saying, as a young person that's interested in human development, and human development cannot be without being interested in.
Let me ask you a quick question, caller.
Yeah.
I keep on hearing somebody young. Why is it that the young people of St. Lucia allow and I say old people? I mean, obviously I'm not talking about numbers because my numbers are higher than most. But people with obviously archaic notions. The politics of today is more primitive than the politics of Compton's time. And young people who are living in this IT age are listening to woodcutters, bamboo cutters, in effect, So why aren't the young people coming out like a strong force and making themselves heard? Why?
Yes, Colin,
yeah, and that's something, and that's a very good point of discussion, because I speak to a few friends of mine and we speak about that a lot, because one of the things I find that we're not doing, we tend to look at politics only on an economic level, but politics moves into the ideological level, and what we tend to find out that we don't even know the ideas and the philosophies that grounded in, let's say, labor.
But Carla, I am not even going so deep. Young people must have jobs. Every young person, rich or poor, has the same aspirations. A young person in Marshall or a young person at Cap, and I'm not trying to be whatever. The young guy wants to have a girlfriend, can take to the movies once in a while. He needs a little car. Once a month, he could take his girlfriend to have something to eat, to feel a man. But young men are made to feel like helpless old people, that their future is in the hands of guys they don't trust, guys of bad reputation, guys with no ideas. So, but I don't want to hold you too long. Thank you very much, though.
Yes, thank you.
All right, let's continue with your calls. We have another call. Good evening, NewsMaker Live, you're on the air.
Hello, good night.
Good evening to you, caller. Good evening to you.
Good night. Yeah, good evening, Rick.
Hi, Doc.
Yeah, you look so good. I hope when I get around your age, I look that good. But anyway, yes. Listen, Rick, I think you have tremendous experience together with, you read a lot. And, of course, you have been around in many stages of the politics of St. Lucia. I mean, I used to listen to George and all of these guys when I was at A-level, and of course, I stood in the Constitution Park to listen to that famous speech when the government broke up, 79, I was at A-level. And of course, 1996, 97 was a point in our history where I personally thought that we would have development because we had some young brains. We had leaders like
hope.
Dr. Anthony.
He gave us hope.
Many of us young people believed that our country
was about to take off
to a certain level. All right? I do not know what sometimes the aspirations and the dreams. Yes, the aspirations and the dreams could be something more from outside of government, and when you get in government, it may not be always feasible. Another point is our public service has become very corrupt. Very corrupt. All right, there are certain individuals who are not patriotic, who do not believe in the progress of country. All they want to do is to amass wealth and believe that they can live in a country. So this is why we have the individuals who are supposed to see about the development of this country in housing, in healthcare, in the economy, in employment, and all of these people who are tasked to do that, they do not see a country. All they see are themselves and what they benefit from it, and they are not patriotic. You understand me? Even the so-called progressives. Yes.
You know, Tim has been asking me all night, don't you think the people are to blame? Don't you? The people are to blame, you know. All this energy you have there are other people like that, but you all only expend it on shows like this. We have Integrity Act, we have the Integrity Commission, we have all those things in place, but they're there just for show. Nobody demands that they're used. We every now and again we see names of leading officials in the Gazette who have not declared their assets and so on by law. They're supposed to. Nothing happens. We have all the laws and none implemented. Thank you very much.
Let me allow Doc to go 1 minute to conclude. Conclude, Doc.
Yes, the other thing is that I just need to say that many of our people, don't you believe that this country is not in outer space? We are part of a world community, and there must be people in this country to take this country to another level. We cannot continue to have a high crime rate. We cannot continue to have unemployment, poor housing conditions, all of these kinds of things that people just sit back.
Okay,
and what we were talking about, that we are solutions, we are patriotic. You understand? I hear you every day, and but we must have a group of people, or we must have in our minds as solutions to work towards the development of our country. We can get to the stage of Singapore. We can get to these kinds of things, but we have to think of country.
Okay, Doc. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. Just there from Dr. Sylvia Wilson. We have another call. Good evening. Newsmaker Live, you're on the air.
Yeah, hi, good evening.
Good evening to you, caller.
Yeah, hi. Rick, I want to start off with a quote Bertrand Russell. You familiar with him?
Oh, yeah, the English philosopher.
Yeah.
Right. So he says diet, injunctions, and injections will come down from a very early age to produce the sort of character and the sort of beliefs that the authorities consider desirable. And any serious criticism of the powers that be will become psychologically impossible. Even if all are miserable, all will believe themselves happy because the government will tell them that they are so.
That's right.
All right, sir. Thank you so much.
What I want to also add to this, Rick has always been saying it. We have a Westminster system that has been handed down to us, and it thrives on division. Just like the religion he spoke about, it thrives on division.
And you know, but by the way, let's not fool ourselves. It's only a mockery of that system, because we don't practice it at all. It's only it's only a mockery. Thank you very much.
Hypocrisy. It's hypocrisy, just like the democracy that we practice here, thinking that by voting we have any kind of power. It is not. This is not the real power. So what I'm trying to say here, quickly, is that we need a new system. We need to overhaul the system. I think, Rick, what's his name, Tim, you hinted at it. You spoke about it already. We are the crutches on the hands of International Monetary Fund and these types of people which hold us the debt that we have. Everything, our governments are just puppets. Remember the show you played with Buju, where you said the governments are just the CEOs, they're just the board members of a corporation. We have puppets and not real leaders. We need real leaders. Right. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much, caller. We have another call. Good evening to you. Newsmaker Live, you're on the air. Hello, good evening to you, caller.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening to you, caller.
Nice to see you, Rick. I remember as a boy, my father putting me in front of a TV and saying, listen, you might learn something.
I'm getting used to this idea of guys calling me up. My father said,
Go ahead,
call us your contribution.
But a quick question. What do you think is the effect of our Americanization, especially when it comes to the media, and how it affects our ideological and, of course, our cultural beings currently as a nation?
All right, thanks a lot.
I don't think any American media has affected anything detrimentally here. I think governments, politicians gradually bought off the media people. The media people never really wanted to be. They were never cut out to be media people. And it was a job, and that was it. So that's so much for the media. Ideologically, I don't know. I don't know we have any ideology here at all. So I don't think we're affected by what we do. Is we think we're Americans and want to live like what we see on the screen, and these people don't even exist. So we all want to be rich because we see all those black people, housewives of Atlanta, or this and that, but that don't exist. But we're affected by that.
Good evening, Newsmaker Live.
Good evening, Tim.
Hi.
Good evening to Rick.
Good evening to you, caller.
It's good to see you guys. It's good to see you, Rick. It's your old boys club, like I like to put it, the Boy Scout days.
Yes.
We've had many of those conversations. The interesting thing of the discussion you're having, it brings me to a thought process I had a long time ago. We have brilliant minds in this island of ours. The fear, though, is that we're so politically aligned naturally. That is to say, my great-grandfather was X, so you know what? If I go and I want to do something, I have to follow that party line if I want to do so. Because if I don't, he'll turn over or roll over, like they say in his grave. And you tend to see that. And the young minds, the brilliant young minds, either one, stay silent, or from an early age, they align themselves to a party, a certain party. And, of course, they follow the status quo, and that's where it is. Despite, in a lot of our cases, knowing better, we have already aligned ourselves and tainted ourselves that we cannot change. And we just continue to flow the way we are flowing, and we see repetition after repetition.
Well, if we don't change, nature will do it for us, because we cannot continue as we are. We're going to fall. This cannot continue as it's going on. A country cannot survive hating itself. End of story.
And what is the saying when you do something the same way all the time?
That's right, madness.
Okay, caller. All right, thank you so much. Let's see if we can take at least 3 more calls. Good evening. NewsMaker Live, you're on the air.
Gentlemen, good evening.
Good evening to you, caller.
Yeah. I'm listening to all the various positions being put forward. And I think that one of the things that has caused us to be where we are today is the entrance of Kenny Anthony into politics back in 1997. If you will recall, before that, there were several attempts by the Labour Party to find a winning combination, which they couldn't. And Kenny was ascended to the highest position in the country without having won it in terms of being in the field with the people and fighting for whatever was going to come at the end of it. His presence was negotiated by the Labour Party on the premise that when he came in, he had to be a prime minister without competition. He came in, he walked into the position. He never walked his way into the position by earning the respect of people. And there was this image that people had of Kenny Anthony, and very much was expected of him. Looking back at it now, Kenny never ever came close to what he should have been if he had delivered the promise that was expected of him. And I think one of the things we have these days is that people are still thinking of Kenny Anthony in what he could have been and not what he actually did. But when you look back over his period of time in politics in St. Lucia, there is very little that he has done for St. Lucia that any independent person would actually say. He's done a lot for the Labour Party, and he's done a lot for the Labour Party in terms of turning it into an election machine and dividing the country, if you will, because he's the origin of the division in the country. And we have gone with it up to now. Kerr has simply taken over from where Kenny left off, and Kerr being an acolyte of Kenny, there is nothing that he could have done differently. That's all he knew. And one of the main the main objectives of any leader should be to look to the future of any organization for which he's heading. And that never happened, because had Kenny done that, we would have had a better country at this moment in time. I remember vividly being party to a conversation where there were people in the Labour Party at the time, and the attitude was that St. Lucia was a virgin territory. And the virgin territory meant it was there to be taken advantage of. And to this day, it's still happening. The elitism that was attached then to people who had university education is back again with people like Hilaire. And I don't think that Rick's dismissal of Hilaire as somebody who's got so much to say there isn't enough time. Enough can be said about him, because I think Hilaire is the living danger to St. Lucia right now. He has said it, he has lived it, he has demonstrated it, and I think we have to see it for what it is.
Who is the living danger?
Hilaire.
Yeah.
He is the most dangerous person in the country at the moment, because he's actually demonstrated it. He said it. He showed it. But and the other thing is, because there's so much one can talk about, is that the younger people of today, they don't read, and that is the problem we have with them. They have fallen purely in that old UDI situation, Lucia, where they listen, even in this day of Google, you'll get a youngster asking you a question, but it's easily attainable on Google, so they don't anywhere, they don't formulate their own opinions, and these opinions are pushed upon them by people who have grudges to bear from a long time ago. And finally, one of the things when Kenny came into office back in 97, he did not have a vision for St. Lucia. He had absolutely no vision of where he wanted St. Lucia to go. Because if you will recall, Kenny wasn't in office for about 6-8 months before he dived into Rochamel. And after that, he go along systematically every single time something has come up. And interestingly enough, he's never explained any of those things which have devastated St. Lucia. And the key one being the Grindberg affair. He's so arrogant as to just leave it unaddressed. Then there's the impact report, which is going to haunt us for years. But yet still, to this day, there are still people thinking that Kenny Anthony can do something for St. Lucia. That's our problem.
That's how desperate
we are not realistic.
Okay, thank you so much.
Let me say,
Mr. Frank Myers.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, I wish you hadn't told me what it was before I said what I was going to say.
Let me take a final call. Good evening to you. NewsMaker Live, you're on the air.
Good evening.
Good evening to you.
Tim, I'm so impressed with your co-host tonight. I have not seen that face in a while.
Co-host? Co-host?
Co-host, that's a position you have adopted, because you're saying thank you to some of the callers.
Our humble friend.
But go ahead.
Yes. Tim, I just want to, just share something. With the mass deportation of Caribbean nationals to the Caribbean, and with
what mass deportation?
What did you say there, caller?
Well, all right. With the deportation of Caribbean nationals.
Mm-hmm. I mean, Trump, what is expected? What is anticipated?
Yes, what is anticipated, right?
Okay.
To me, by now, we should be thinking of, because all of those individuals will be coming, some of them with the various index crimes, what they've been, doing up there.
Caller, why do you automatically say those guys are going to come with a crime? Why aren't you thinking they're going to come with the talents?
The talents?
Go ahead. Don't let me stop you.
Already
go ahead, caller.
Already we cannot deal with what we have down here.
Yeah, go ahead.
And we the mere fact that we've had the lay law and the necessary training for our, law enforcement personnel is not there. I fear that, a lot will happen that we will not be able to deal with, and to me the dialogue's supposed to be open now for proper training, proper, things for our people. But, everybody's just in their little silos trying to just do things, expecting, things to come out, the same way. I really don't understand it. And my fear is that, within the Caribbean context, we need to start that dialogue for us to at least get some form of, in the Caribbean.
All right, caller. Thank you so much.
You know what's happening also there? I see them with the Caribbean context. You know something I think is very ominous? The parties grouping together opposition parties and the government parties. You realize they're basically forming an army.
In the Caribbean?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
One against the other.
Yes.
You realize that?
Yes.
So that is the Caribbean being put to war against itself again.
We'll take a final call. That will be definitely our final call. Good evening, NewsMaker Live, you're on the air. Hello, good evening to you, caller.
Good afternoon. Good night. How are you doing?
Good evening to you, caller.
I'm good, Mr. Timothy.
Go ahead, please.
I just asking. How are you doing, Mr. Wickred?
Hi.
How are you doing, Mr. Wickred?
I'm pretty good, thank you.
I'm having a breakdown.
Okay, caller, thank you so much. Let me take the final comments from you, Rick, because there's too much feedback and too much distortion in the background.
Well, it's accountability again, Tim. We have allowed the country be taken over by a group of guys who tell you what they want you to know. There's no media. There's no critical thinking. You want to take?
Then go ahead.
Okay. There's no. You have no groups like you had in the days of George Odlum, and the forum and so on.
Yeah.
There's, all you hear on the radio is the worst kind of, it's not politics, it's dirt. It's the dirtiest aspect of politics. That's what you hear.
Yeah.
The kids either are turned off by it or they rebel against it. I really believe all those guns and shooting and whatever is the consequence of things that have happened before. We don't have an operating justice system. It's not. People are in prison. 75% of the people in Bordelais are in custodial remand. It is criminal that people should have to be locked up for so long, and their cases they have no idea. So the system itself that is supposed to protect us from criminal is criminal itself. Okay? Judges and so on, they've all lost their credibility. Recently we had a case where a judge recused himself from a case on the basis that there was political interference. The man was just transferred. The public was told nothing. We were not worthy of an explanation, nothing. I also think, I don't know if I have an answer for it, but I also think it is dangerous that somebody as close as, let's say, Mario Michel. Mario Michel was Deputy Prime Minister. Mario Michel was one of the leading lights of the Labour Party. We know all of Mario Michel's history as a Labour Party politician. It bothers the hell out of me that he is the Chief Justice, at least me personally. Okay? I want to see some office with some semblance of anticipated even-handedness. But when we know the histories of these guys, how partisan they have been, how strongly partisan they have been, prejudice, how can we ever expect justice, blind justice? So it's very, very depressing. It's very depressing. It's not a good speech, pre-Christmas speech, but the reality, it is what it is, and to pretend jingle bells and whatnot, we don't belong here anyway. So, it's of another place. We're always emulating, we're always copying somebody, and copying all the worst things, Tim. But I guess the people I am most angry with are those better off people who really don't need government handouts, and they are allowing the country to go down in the sewer, and they are creaming whatever they can while that happens. That is too much traitor. I was very, very interested in the caller about Kenny. That was it's a pretty good analysis of Kenny Anthony. I hope somehow he cares enough to have listened to this, because I still believe Kenny can be very, very useful to St. Lucia. But it was a very, very interesting analysis there. Kenny just came from nowhere and became Prime Minister. He had no time to get familiar with the problems, or even, he had no time. And perhaps too much was expected of him. And he got surrounded immediately by, again, the guys who were seasoned and had all their animosities, and these were the guys who surrounded him.
You expect general elections in 2025?
No, I don't. I expect the elections to go the course.
By 2026?
Yeah.
Okay. Right, thank you so much, Rick, for being my guest on this evening's NewsMaker Live, the final broadcast for 2024.
May I just say one thing? Tim, I am so impressed by the level of callers we had there tonight. Wow! St. Lucia is not lost. The level of callers blew me away, considering the normal kind of calls.
Yeah.
But
thank you so much, and all the best to you for the season, and of course for 2025, which I'm sure will be a very challenging one.
When you're my age, everything is challenging.
All the best to you, sir.
Thank you.
And to you, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for your devotion to this program every Wednesday, because if it's Wednesday, it's NewsMaker Live. Thank you to our advertisers. On behalf of the management and staff of DBS Television, we wish you a Merry Christmas and certainly a happy and safe and enjoyable 2025. We should be back during the first week of February next year. My name is Timothy Poleon. If it's Wednesday, it's NewsMaker Live time now for the clip that peaked.
Hey, Dad.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Okay, what's your question?
Why do girls rub their eyes when they wake up?
Why do girls rub their eyes when they wake up?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Because they have no balls to scratch.
Once again, as a broadcast, good night and see you next time.
Hi, Philip Joseph here.
I would like to be judged as being the Prime Minister, not being judged as being part of a government.
Came into government that we had a manifesto and a vision and mission that had been approved by my party, by the highest body.
Basel 11 has not been in existence. 50 was...
Giant getting bazooka. You spraying big on to knock out mosquitoes?
I have never had a joint account with anybody in my life. Not my ex-wife, not my children, nobody. And I will refer that to the privileges committee.
What about the culture of people getting into office and not being effective in taking
What people become Prime Minister in Lucia have been the most ready.
Let's do it this Wednesday, because if it's Wednesday, it's NewsMaker Live.